If you're just joining us, we're following the latest developments in the shooting death of Daunte Wright and the Derek Chauvin trial. Wright, a 20-year-old black man, was shot and killed Sunday by police officer Kim Potter during a traffic stop in Brooklyn Center, just a few miles from Minneapolis. This morning, the officer and police chief resigned as calls for accountability grew online and on the ground. My next guest, political commentator Tezlyn Figaro, has been following this story since it unfolded on Sunday. Tezlyn, thank you so very much for joining me tonight. I have been following your tweets, and one of the tweets that you sent talked about manslaughter, that you believe that this was a manslaughter, at the very least, if the police chief is claiming that this was an accident. Can you speak more on that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, not many people in the community is even believing that it is an accident. We can see that police have a culture issue when it comes to pulling their weapon. It's one reason why I enjoyed, in fact, the defense for the Derek Chauvin case to bring in the previous 2015 video, because it showed that police have an issue with pulling out their gun always, no matter what justifiable reason. And what happened with Daunte Wright is she pulled her weapon out, I believe, in a way to scare him, and she fired. The community believes that it was certainly not an accident to confuse an 8-ounce taser to a 2-pound weapon, but let's just say that it was an accident. I certainly don't believe that it was an accident that she pulled it out to possibly scare him. And if she did, if she is already saying that it is an accident, then that is manslaughter at the very least. For her to have the opportunity to resign, to escape punitive repercussions for her actions, shows once again that this is not a training issue, Yodit. Folks keep saying this is about training, this is about training. This is not about training, this is about culture. These folks have the training. This is a 26-year veteran. Chauvin was a veteran. The trainer that trains the trainers was on the stand today and said that, no, this certainly was not a use of force. So let us all deal with the reality that this is not a training issue. This is a culture issue. And one last thing I want to make a point of. A lot of the conversation about defund the police. That's fine. We can reallocate resources back in our community. But let me make it crystal clear that accountability is not a defund the police issue. We are looking for accountability, which means that police officers are charged and convicted. So we must understand that all cases are not like this. They do not get the resources. They do not get the 30+ witnesses. The prosecution has put on a phenomenal case. But you know, being a former prosecutor, that this is not always the case. So it is very important that we pay attention every bit of this trial. Folks say, I don't want to watch it, I'm too traumatized. We don't have the right. We don't have the pleasure to avoid not paying attention to this case step by step, each motion that's filed, each argument, so that we can know how the game is played and be in a better position.
Absolutely. I think that you nailed it on the head, because you get the reaction from the actual verdict and people wonder how they even got there, right? How did we get here? So I absolutely agree with you. Now, I want to get your take on the defense's first day of calling witnesses. The use of force expert was supposed to be one of their most powerful, strong witnesses. It was supposed to be a battle of the experts with the state's witnesses. How do you think this use of force officer, I mean, the things that were coming out of his mouth, we talked earlier about that. It clearly made no sense. He couldn't even concede that Chauvin was actually on top of George Floyd. The prosecutor had to go, okay, was he on the side then? Was he on the bottom? And then he finally agreed, okay, yes, he was on top. I mean, he wouldn't even concede the smallest things. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, the prosecution did a brilliant job. I said that they pulled the old Denzel Washington from the movie Philadelphia, explained it to me like I'm a 6-year-old, and walked him through frame by frame on really having to justify. He didn't even want to justify that this was even a use of force, period, let alone be an excessive use of force. So it shows that, once again, let's just call it what it is. This guy wanted to get an $11,000 bag and be seen on TV. And what happened is he has made himself look like a complete idiot. I just want to be honest about it.
Yes.
And those in which he represents. So whoever this officer is in the city that he lives in, these are the type of things, Yodit, that we need to be demanding, that he has no more access to train any other police officers, because he just absolutely refused to see what we saw on that tape. And it was just a level of ridiculous that I think is just really truly at a loss for words, which I'm never at one. But this was a whole level, a different level of idiocy that I've ever seen. Just for him to try to explain, which just obviously cannot be explained. But the prosecution did a great job backing him into the corner.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that video is the most powerful, I think, weapon in the prosecution's arsenal. So, of course, they were going to take that frame by frame. And I don't think he really prepped. He didn't do his homework before taking that stand. So, okay, Tezlyn Figaro, thank you so very much. We're going to be having you back